First, can I give a shout out to Anton for his chroma is the real thing. That is feeding the text of my book to LangChain and then feeding it to chroma and then feeding the results to large language models. Produces answers that are almost good enough to replace me in office hours. Almost, but not quite. Individually, right? Individually for each of us. For each of us, this wave now breaking over us is wonderful, is magnificent. Let me put things in some perspective. Let me remember back to the days of Grace Hopper, Alan Turing, and Johnny von Neumann, and all that has happened since. Right? And I think that the mainframe gave me, back when I was a graduate student, more computational power at my disposal than Richard Feynman had back in the days when he was working for the Manhattan Project and had 100 computers to boss. That is, 100 women with BAs and calculators. The PC gave me, as an assistant professor, the equivalent of a typing pool plus a professional editor plus a graphics draftsman. The internet gave me the equivalent of a full-time 24/7 runner to the biggest library in the world, plus more, the smartphone, the laptop, now genuinely useful machine learning. Each and every one of those things has made a quarter of my job so easy to accomplish that I can do 5 times as much of it, thus doubling, what I can do personally, and they overlap. So by now I have had 4 doublings of what I can do work-wise, since I turned 18. Maybe it's only 3. Maybe I should subtract 1 for the doom scrolling and the clickbait. So maybe it's only 3. And this wave is certainly a 5th and maybe the biggest of the 5th. Genuinely useful machine learning is a huge deal. Very large scale, very high dimensional regression and classification is not only formal reasoning, but is also hunches crystallized. Very useful natural voice interfaces, even if they do occasionally hallucinate, they are wonderful things, and the big problem with them is that we tend to trust them too much. Taking VC's money as they run lemming-like to give it to us to discover and try new things, well, those things are collectively very worthwhile as they produce huge amounts of blue sky, valuable societal learning about what we can do to make technologies useful. Individually, this is such a huge productivity bonanza. Figure for 20% of the American workforce, it will come close to doubling what they can do individually. Collectively, let me make 5 more brief points. We don't think individually. We are not smart individually. Individually, we can barely remember where we left our keys. And individually, our attempts to think and communicate, an awful lot of it is chaff, an awful lot of it is misinformation or disinformation or distraction, that we need to organize our thoughts and our communication, or was it Sam Altman who said that ChatGPT will turn 5 bullet points into an essay, which no one then has the time to read, so they then ask ChatGPT to turn it back into 5 bullet points, thus burning a huge amount of energy and computrons to produce absolutely nothing. We don't think individually, we're dumb individually. But collectively, we can be, and increasingly we plus our bots, we can be very, very smart. Thus crowdsourcing. Thus the folk wisdom of to enough eyes, all bugs are shallow. But that works only if we can get 3 things nailed. First, that the communication has to be for our good, rather than for our distraction, for our clickbaiting. Second, we really, really need systems to direct our attention. We need to tune these systems to directing our attention where we want our attention to go, rather than where someone else wants it to go, because attention is about to be the only thing that is truly scarce. Third, we are going to need processes to mentor the young, as the ways they used to rub up against people who had the useful tacit knowledge are going to continue to decline, as that is the work the bots are taking away from us. I guess, no, that's up to 4. 5. I guess it was the fall of my senior year in college. My high-powered physics major roommates were all off to take graduate general relativity, physics 210. They said, come along. They said, admit it, you're curious. They said, take it, pass, fail. We'll make sure you don't fail. Come the final exam, I can do 1 of the 6 questions. That was a pass. 1 of 6 was a pass. In large part because the best student in the class, MIT's Seth Lloyd, could only do 3 out of 6. But afterwards, the 10 of us who took the exam were still sitting there around our single table in the architectural atrocity that's Mem Hall. And one of the other 9 says, here's where I got stuck. And a second one says, oh, this is how you do that. And in the next 45 minutes, the other 9 people taking the final solved the entire exam, even though no one knew more than half of it. We are very smart collectively. That's what we figure out have to use these systems to be.